Curious ka ba sa maraming bagay? Kami na ang bahala dyan. Aalamin, tutuklasin at bibigyang linaw namin ang mga katanungang bumabagabag sa inyong isipan. Sa programa kung saan ang bawat sagot ay galing lamang sa mga eksperto. Ang Expert's Opinion, tuwing linggo alas 3 ng hapon, dito lang sa DZRH TV.
Kamakailan nga lang naging laman ng mga balita ang naranasang magnitude 6.9 na lindol sa Bogo City sa Cebu. Sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon sa loob ng higit 400 years, ngayon lang muling nagkaroon ng activity ang fault line doon na nagdulot ng maraming casualties at nasirang mga infrastruktura. Kasunod niyan, napakaraming aftershocks ang naitala sa lugar at ang pagsulputan rin ng mga sinkhole. Mayroon ding magnitude 5 na lindol na naitala sa Ilocos Norte at ang 2 beses na pagsabog ng Bulkang Taal kamakailan. Dahil dito, marami ang nangangamba sa mga pangyayaring ito na baka ito na raw ang senyales ng sinasabing The Big One. Kaya naman ngayong linggo, bibigyang linaw natin itong usapin na ito kasama ang ating Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology o PHIVOLCS Director Dr. Teresito Bacolcol. Dr., magandang araw po. Welcome po sa ating programang Expert's Opinion. It's a pleasure po to have you here in our program po, sir.
Okay, thank you also for having me here and good afternoon din po sa inyo.
Sir, kamakailan nga lang po hindi biro yung mga dinanas po ng mga kababayan natin dyan sa may Bogo City sa Cebu. Matapos po yung sunod-sunod na bagyong dumating sa Philippines, ito naman pong lindol. Ngayon lang uli po tayo nakaranas ng ganitong kalakas at may malaking pinsala din po itong naiwan. Sir, marami po nagsasabi na ito raw po ba ay senyales po ng sinasabi na The Big One. Totoo po ba ito, Sir Toto?
Ay wala pong katotohanan po yan. Yung earthquake sa Cebu was generated by the Bogo Bay Fault, which is different from the West Valley Fault. So wala pong connection yung The Big One. We have different fault segments in the country. So we have 180 active fault segments. So all of these are capable of generating minor to light to moderate, even sometimes great earthquakes. When we say great earthquakes, these are earthquakes greater than 8.
Okay, Sir Toto, nabanggit nyo nga po na itong Bogo fault na ito na natuklasan ay malayo naman po dito sa sinasabing The Big One. Pero ito po ba ay posibleng kumonekta? Dahil nga po ito ay gumagalaw, sabihin na po natin ng isang crack ay mentras na gumagalaw ay humahaba po ang kanyang crack o fault line. Ito po ba ay posibleng kumonekta dito?
Hindi po, and hindi po sila konektado. So, ang Bogo Bay Fault ay nasa ilalim ng dagat sa Bogo Bay, which is in the northeastern part of Cebu, while the West Valley Fault naman is in Luzon. So, magkakaibang fault systems yung dalawa. Base sa aming mapping, halos 8 kilometers na ang mapa ng aming teams on the onland extension ng Bogo Bay Fault. So, based sa estimates natin, this would be around 40-50 kilometers yung kabuuang haba ng Bogo Bay Fault. So ito ang sukat kasi na mag-generate ng magnitude 6.9 na lindol. At kapag kahit gagalaw ito, hindi po yan kukonekta sa West Valley Fault. Masyado na pong malayo.
Opo, sir. Pero sa almost 400 years po na hindi po ito active, bakit po kaya ito ngayon gumalaw? May triggers po ba? O ito po yung parang age niya, kumbaga every 400 years po ang kanyang paggalaw?
Okay, so first, mali po yung sa sinasabi natin na hindi siya active. So, ang definition kasi natin ng active fault is if it has moved for the last 10,000 years. Now, yung data kasi natin is only up to 1600. So, most likely gumalaw na yan dati. It's just that we don't have enough data, and even if you look at the historical data, wala tayong makikita na malalaking lindol on the northeastern side of Cebu. Now, tama, this is to be ang lindol kasi ay nag-accumulate yan ng yung fault na nag-generate ng lindol, nag-accumulate yan ng stress. So there was no activity along the Bogo Bay Fault for a long time because the rocks on both sides of the fault are stuck together by friction. So hindi sila makagalaw. So while the stress kept building up, again, yung fault mismo hindi kaagad yan gumalaw. So again, you think of bending a ruler. At first, the pressure kept increasing until eventually nag-snap yung ruler. So in the same way, once the rocks could no longer hold the stress, they slipped and released the stored energy in the case of the Bogo Bay Fault, as magnitude 6.9 earthquake.
Okay, Sir Toto, ibig sabihin gumagalaw na po ito. Kumbaga itong magnitude 6.9 na lindol na ito ay yun po mismo yung parang breaking point niya. Tama po ba?
Okay.
Sir, yung mga sinkholes naman po na naglabasan dito sa Cebu and other parts of the country, ano pong paliwanag po ba rito? Bakit po biglang may mga naglalabasan na sinkholes?
Okay, so mas maganda kung yung Mines and Geosciences Bureau ang mag-explain kasi actually sila yung may mandato to explain sinkholes. But anyway, as a scientist, I can also explain that one. But the more detailed, again, mas maganda kapag MGB yung tatanungin namin. So now, yung sinkholes are common in limestone areas. Cebu is predominantly made up of limestone, same with Bohol. So yung mga sinkholes kasi, they are already there, ando na, even before the earthquake happened. It's just that hindi natin nakikita because of the soil cover. Natatakpan sila. Now, during the strong shaking, nag-collapse yung soil cover, exposing the sinkholes. Pero again, as I mentioned, yung may mandato talaga to talk about sinkholes ay mga taga-MGB. So, yung mga LGU na may mga sinkholes na mas maganda kung makipag-ugnayan sila sa MGB dahil again, sila ang may mandato sa assessment ng sinkholes.
Okay, sir. Sir, kamakailan din po may mga napabalita pang mga cases ng lindol. For example, dito sa Ilocos Norte, ito po ba ay nagkataon lang na may mga naisasabay o mga sumusunod na araw ng lindol?
Yes, nagkataon lang yan. We have, again, as I mentioned, we have more than 180 active faults. Always this possibility na magkakasabay sila. In fact, we record sa FIVOX, we record at least 30 earthquakes a day. So karamihan dito ay hindi naramdaman ng mga tao, mga instrumento lamang natin yung nakaka-pick up. But again, at least 30 earthquakes a day from all over the country. So different active fault segments yung gumagalaw.
So hindi pala siya dapat sir na nagkataon lang talaga na everyday din talaga may nararanasan tayo lindol. Hindi lang po natin siya nararamdaman. Okay sir, karaniwan po ba sa Pilipinas ano pong mga uri ng lindol yung nararanasan po natin? Type of earthquake?
Okay, so again, yung fault na gumalaw during that produced the magnitude 6.9 earthquake in Cebu was generated by what we call strike-slip fault. So meron tayong tatlong klaseng faults, reverse fault, strike-slip fault, and normal fault. Yung reverse fault, ito yung gumalaw noong 2013 sa Bohol. Now, ang gumalaw dito sa Cebu was a strike-slip fault. So most of the earthquake generators sa bansa natin are strike-slip faults. In fact, we have the Philippine Fault, which is also a strike-slip fault, and it's 1,200 kilometers from Davao all the way to Luzon. And it's one of the world's major strike-slip faults. And this is the same fault that moved during the 1990 earthquake, yung mga earthquakes natin recently in Masbate, in Leyte, in Surigao, those are all generated by the Philippine Fault, which is the same as which is the same type of fault that generated the magnitude 6.9 earthquake in Cebu.
Okay sir, ito nga pong naranasan po natin na lindol na to na magnitude 6.9 na lindol sa Cebu. Nag-iwan po siya ng napakaraming bilang po ng aftershocks. Ito po ba ay dapat na ikabahala o normal po ba ito talaga nangyayari after this strong earthquake po?
Okay, so after a strong earthquake like the magnitude 6.9 event in Cebu, it's normal to experience aftershocks. Okay, these are basically smaller earthquakes na nangyayari as the fault adjusts after the main rupture during the main shock. So it's similar to what happened or what happens when again when we bend a ruler. So itong example natin, bending a ruler. So if you bend a ruler, the first loud crack would represent the earthquake. This is when most of the energy is released. Now, even after the ruler breaks, even after it snaps, nagva-vibrate pa rin yan for a few moments until it becomes completely still. So, the small vibrations, yun yung tinatawag natin na aftershocks. And habang tumatagal naman, kumukonti yung number ng aftershocks natin at saka humihina. So for instance, during for the first 24 hours after the during the first 24 hours of the magnitude 6.9 event, nakapagtala po tayo ng around 1,800 aftershocks. Now, sabihin na lang natin na 2,000 para mas madaling i-compute. So on the 10th day, mag-reduce yan. Ang number niya would just be around 1/10 of the aftershocks on the first day. So that would be around 200, 300 aftershocks. Now, on the 100th day, which is about 3 months, mga around 20, 30, at most 40 aftershocks na lamang yan. And yan masyadong mahihina na most likely ang maka-detect lamang yan, maka-record lamang yan would be our instruments.
Okay, sir. Ito nga po, sa ngayon po ba, nabanggit nyo nga kanina na humihina po at kumukonti rin yung aftershocks na binabantayan po natin. Pero, posible pa po bang masundan ng isa pa pong malakas pa? May binabantayan po ba kayo? May monitor po ba kayong isa pang paggalaw dito sa na-discover po nating Bogo Bay Fault po?
Okay, so by definition, aftershocks are 1 degree, 1 magnitude smaller than the main shock. Therefore, the maximum aftershock that we may record would just be around 5.9. So, hindi na yan tataas pa sa magnitude 6.9. Kasi otherwise, kung may lindol pa na tataas pa sa magnitude 6.9, hindi na yun aftershock. That would be the main shock. And the magnitude 6.9 would be the foreshock. So, again, when we say aftershock, humihina, ang lumiit yung magnitude.
Okay. Pero sir, ito curious lang din, no? May mga ilan po nagtatanong, ito po bang mga ganitong kalakas na lindol ay posible po bang mag-create o makabuo po ng isang bulkan? Posible po bang masira po yung itong tinatawag nating magma chamber po sa ilalim dahil sa malakas na paglindol dito?
Hindi po, ang lindol at bulkan ay magkakaibang proseso yan. So ang lindol ay dahil sa galaw ng fault, ang pagsabog ng bulkan naman ay dahil sa pressure mula sa magma. So wala pong bagong bulkan na nabubuo dahil sa lindol.
So Sir Toto, wala pong connection itong naitala natin last time na pagsabog po dito ng 2 beses din dito sa Bulkang Taal. So wala po siyang connection, tama po sir?
Yes, wala silang connection. Again, i-recall lang natin, the earthquake happened on September 30, 9:59, magnitude 6.9. And early morning of October 1, nagkaroon ng phreatic eruption, minor phreatic eruption, dalawa. Yung isa, minor phreatic eruption, yung isa naman minor phreatomagmatic eruption sa Taal Volcano. Now, wala pong connection yung dalawa. Again, yung Taal Volcano right now is on alert level 1. So yung minor eruptions, characteristic yan ng isang alert level 1 na status kung saan meron ngayon ang Taal Volcano.
Sir, itong recommendations niyo ba sa pagbalik ng mga ilang residente sa lugar nila, advisable pa rin ba o hindi na? Pinaalis niyo na po yung mga nakatira malapit sa fault?
Yung mga bahay transected by the fault, again, ang recommendation natin is huwag na silang tumira doon kasi it's already transected by the fault. Wala po tayong engineering intervention for ground rupture hazard. Yun kasi yung ground rupture hazard. Now, yung recommendation natin is dapat walang tao on both sides, 5 meters on both sides of the fault. So dapat walang structures that are used for human occupancy on both 5 meters on both sides of the fault or on top of the fault. So again, yung buffer zone natin is 5 meters beyond sa bawat gilid ng fault.
Sir, sa pagkakatuklas po ninyo nitong Bogo Bay Fault, ano po ba yung naitulong nito mismo sa PHIVOLCS? Even sa Cebu or sa buong Pilipinas, ano po ba yung naitulong nitong discovery na ito?
Okay, so again, the discovery of the Bogo Bay Fault is very significant since it's clear now what is the source of the quake and hindi na maituturing na unknown fault, unknown offshore active fault. So again, the discovery of this Bogo Bay Fault, can also make planning more accurate since again, we will be able to update our active faults map at saka second, mabigyan ng advice yung mga LGUs kung saan may fault at paano ito maiwasan kapag magpapatayo ng bahay, paaralan, and other critical facilities. And yung presence also, yung pag-identify natin ng fault is also a good input para mas mapahusay pa natin ang mga inputs natin para sa hazard modeling sa nagagamitin sa retrofitting and infrastructure. And isa pa, since a big part of the fault ay nasa dagat, we can improve our tsunami hazard modeling.
Ayan, maraming salamat po Sir Toto, no? Pero ito, magtungo naman po tayo siguro dito sa pinag-uusapan ngayon sa social media. Maraming kasing mga naniniwala sa fake news na sabi nyo nga po kanina, hindi ito konektado sa The Big One. Pero pwede nyo po ba kaming bigyan ng brief background po kung ano po ba itong sinasabing ng The Big One at saan po ba ito matatagpuan?
Okay, so when we say the big one, it originally refers to the worst case scenario of magnitude 7.2 earthquake event that could be generated by the West Valley Fault. So this is equivalent to around 30 to 40 atomic bombs that were dropped in Hiroshima. So saan to matatagpuan? Yung trace ng West Valley Fault would be from Bulacan all the way to Cavite. So we have it transects Bulacan, Rizal, Quezon City. It also transects Marikina, Pasig, Taguig, Muntinlupa, Laguna, and Cavite. So that's around 100 kilometers long.
Mahaba rin pala po, no, Sir Toto. Pero ano po bang pwedeng mangyari kung sakali po ito ay matuloy? Huwag naman po sana.
Okay, so in 2004, MMDA together with FIVOX and supported by JICA did a study on the impacts in the event of a magnitude 7.2 earthquake along the West Valley Fault. So again, if it happens, the expected ground shaking in Metro Manila would be intensity 8, and that is considered as devastating. And again, based on that study, the expected casualties would be around 33,000 and in Metro Manila. And if we include other provinces, Manila, Pampanga, Laguna, Rizal, Bulacan, aabot yan ng around 48,000 casualties.
Sir, nabanggit nyo itong intensity 8, so parang medyo nakakatakot po siya pakinggan. No? Ano po bang kaibahan ito sa magnitude? Magnitude and intensity.
Okay, sige, magandang tanong yan. Ang magnitude is the amount of energy that is released during an earthquake.
Okay.
That's magnitude. While the intensity is how you perceive surrounding shaking. So magandang analogy would be a light bulb. Okay? So suppose you have 50 watts.
Okay.
And anywhere in the room, mapalayo ka man or mapalapit, that would still remain 50 watts. Okay? So yung intensity, that would be the equivalent of magnitude. Now, the intensity depends on how close you are to the light bulb. Say for instance, malapit ka, the amount of light that you will perceive would be higher. So again, ibig sabihin nun, the closer you are to the epicenter, the higher the intensity. Now, kapag malayo ka naman sa light bulb, weaker ang intensity of light that you will perceive. So ibig sabihin, kapag malayo ka sa epicenter, weaker yung intensity mararamdaman mo.
Pero same magnitude. Okay, sir, gets po.
The same magnitude all throughout. Yeah.
Pero Sir Toto, may nakikita po ba kayo? Kaya po bang ma-predict natin ngayon kung kailan po ba sakaling ito tumama o maranasan po with the technology na meron po tayo ngayon dito sa Philippines?
Wala pa tayong technology that can tell us exactly when this will happen. We can only have an estimate based sa pag-aaral natin. The recurrence interval of a magnitude 7.2 earthquake along the West Valley Fault would be every 400 to 600 years. That's based on polyseismology. Kumukuha tayo ng carbon samples, sinuhukay natin yung location ng samples, carbon samples, and then we dated it. And the last time it again, and yung based on the carbon samples, it means we were able to get a recurrence interval of 400 to 600 years. Now, the last time it moved was in 1658. So if you add 400, kasi yung range natin is between 400 to 600 years. If you add 400 to 1658, that would be around 2058. Okay, so hindi naman ibig sabihin niya na by 2058, mangyayari talaga kaagad yan. So it could be pwedeng earlier, or it could be later, or it could even be on our upper boundary, which is 600 years. Now, kung isipin natin sa 600-year boundary naman yun mangyari, which is 200 years from now, wag na tayo mag-prepare. But then, pwede kasi mangyari yan on the lower boundary, which is 400 years, which is, again, 2058. But that's the reason why we have to prepare. Kasi if you assume that it will happen 200 years from now, hindi tayo mag-prepare. And paano kung mangyari yan? So, magiging casualty pa tayo. So that's the reason why we really have to make sure that we are prepared for the big one.
Sir, ano po bang kahandaan yung ginagawa po o preparations ng PHIVOLCS ngayon, especially na ito nga lalo yung mga mahahagip po ng West Valley Fault? Ano po bang sa inyong recommendation po ngayon?
Okay, so ang ginagawa natin, we have a strong engagement with the LGUs. We provide them with the maps and then we help them identify kung saan yung exact location ng West Valley Fault. And in fact, Pasig, Quezon City, minamarkahan nila kung saan dumadaan yung West Valley Fault. So, ang ginagawa natin is for awareness and para din malaman ng mga tao na, again, alam nila kung saan tinatahak yung West Valley Fault kasi there are more than 3,000 structures that are transected by the West Valley Fault. So para alam nila, aware sila, even if they don't want to move, kasi nga ang recommendation natin walang structure on top of the West Valley Fault. Even if they don't want to move, at least they know the risks that they're taking. So informed decision on their part.
Kamusta po ba yung estado ng pag-aaral po ng PHIVOLCS dito sa West Valley Fault natin?
Okay, so as I mentioned, meron tayong 2004 study. Tumulong tayo sa JICA, MMDA, but that was more than 20 years ago. So it's time for us to revisit this West Valley Fault. Ano yung maging impact nito? And right now, there is a project on the pipeline. Kailangan na lang yung mga kailangan ng administrative preparation. But there is a grant by JICA. There's an aid by JICA na i-revisit yung West Valley Fault. So hopefully kapag naayos na yung paperworks, by next year, makapag-start na tayo ng revisit ng West Valley Fault. Yung impact niya kasi as I mentioned, more than 2 decades na since the results were released.
Pero Sir Toto, ito curious lang din ako, no? Kung ito po bang magnitude 6.9 na lindol na to sa Bogo na nangyari last time dito nangyari sa West Valley Fault, ano po kayo yung posibleng mangyari?
Okay, so mas matindi ang maging epekto nito dahil mas maraming tao at gusali sa Metro Manila. Now, yung sinasabi natin, say, assuming na the study conducted in 2004, assumption natin doon would be magnitude 7.2. So if that happens, around 33,000 casualties. Now, there's also another study on the same MMIers that if instead of 7.2, it's 6.5. So the casualties would still be around 23,000. Now, yung nangyari na 6.9 in Cebu, it's between 6.5 and 7.2. So most likely, the casualties would just be between 23,000 to around 33,000.
Marami pa rin po, Sir Toto, no? Pero
that's right.
Gaano po ba tayo kahanda ngayon? Sabihin po natin na with the enough preparations, kaya po ba nating mapababa yung bilang ng estimated casualties na po yan?
Yes, kaya pa nating mapababa yan. Kailangan natin retrofitting. Yung DPWH, nakapag-retrofit na sila ng more than 120 public buildings sa Metro Manila and ongoing din yung pag-usap nila sa World Bank to retrofit around 400 public establishments. But again, kung gaano tayo kahanda, we cannot be 100% prepared. But I would say that we are more prepared now than before. Again, malaki ang naitulong ng social media sa pagkalat ng information. Kapag just like yung nangyari sa Bohol, it happened close to 10 o'clock in the evening, but practically buong Pilipinas nakakaalam kaagad with the advent of social media. Ang downside lang nito is that mabilis din kumakalat yung fake news. So kailangan nating ma-filter out kung ano yung tama or mali. And then yung another factor sa ating kahandaan would be yung simultaneous earthquake drill na ginagawa natin every quarter. So madaling again, malaki ang naitulong ito sa ating awareness ng ating mga kababayan when it comes to disaster preparedness.
Pero bago po tayo magtapos, baka meron din po kayong any message po sa ating viewers, sa public. Ano po ba yung mga dapat nilang gawin tuwing may lindol?
Okay, so huwag matakot, pero laging maging handa. Again, ang lindol ay hindi natin disiplinado at laging handa ang bawat pamilya at komunidad.
Ayan, maraming salamat po Sir Toto Bacolcol, ang ating pong Feebox Director, sa pagpapaunlak po sa aming programa. Thank you so much po, sir. Magandang araw po and happy Sunday.
Mate.
At yan na po ang episode natin ngayong linggo. Naway nakapagbigay kami ng mga bagong kaalaman at impormasyong tiyak na kapupulutan din ng aral. At gaya nga po na sinabi ni Dr. Toto kanina, pinag-iingat po ng Feebox ang lang publiko. Manatiling mapagmatsyag, magsanay ng mga earthquake drill at laging sumunod po sa mga paalala ng ating mga otoridad. Hindi man natin kontrolado ang mga lindol at pagputok ng bulkan, nasa atin naman pong mga kamay ang kakayahang maghanda at magtulungan. Muli, ako po ang inyong host, Rovic Manuel, patuloy na magbibigay kasagutan sa inyong mga katanungan. Magkita-kita tayo muli sa susunod na linggo, kasama pa rin ang mga eksperto, dito lang sa Experts Opinion.